Okay, so now we are going to continue on reviewing for finals, this time covering Chapter 5. So Chapter 5 is all about polynomials, but before we dove into polynomials, we talked first about our rules of exponents. So problems 4 through 7 ask us to simplify using our exponent properties. And it does say to list out which ones you use, but just go ahead and worry more about what the property says than the name of the property. So in problem number 4, I would work with these piece by piece. So first I see that I've got a negative 14 over 35. Well, just like always, we can reduce our whole numbers as much as possible. So 14 and 35, I can take 7 out of both of those. So I have a negative 2 over a positive 5. And then when we've got a negative exponent, the first thing I do is I move it to the denominator. So I'll worry about those in a second. Lastly, we've got y to the 5th over y to the 3rd. When we have exponents with the same base, one in the numerator, one in the denominator, we subtract our exponents. 5 minus 3, we get 2. That's going to end up in our numerator. So far we've got negative 2 y to the 2nd over, we have that 5, and then when we have x to the positive 3rd and x to the 1st, that was already there, we are going to be able to add those exponents since they have the same base. So our final answer for this guy, negative 2y squared over 5x to the 4th. Number 5, we can go ahead and distribute that exponent. And remember that if we take an exponent to another exponent, or take a power to a power, we are going to multiply those. So we've got 4 to the negative 3rd. That doesn't require any multiplying. And then a to the negative 15th. And then lastly, b to the positive 6th. Now anything with a negative exponent needs to move to the denominator. Oh boy. So we've got b to the 6th is all that's left on top. And then 4 to the positive 3rd, a to the positive 15th. Lastly, I would just go ahead and say what 4 to the 3rd is, because that's one that we should have memorized by now. b to the 6th over 64, a to the 15th. Number 6, we are going to go ahead and multiply our numbers, and when we do, when we've got the same base, we get to add our exponents. Nothing combines with our 2, so that's just along for the ride. R to the 3rd and r to the negative 7th. Add those exponents. 3 plus negative 7, we get negative 4. And then we've got s to the 3rd, s to the 5th. That is going to be s to the 8th. Lastly, we've got a negative exponent, which just tells us that we are going to move it to the denominator. So we have 2 s to the 8th over r to the positive 4th. Last exponent property question, xy to the negative 1st over x squared y times 7x cubed over y to the negative 4th. There are multiple correct first steps here. I'm just going to go ahead and multiply all the way across the top and all the way across the bottom. If you want to reduce first or move things around first, be my guest. So across the top, we're going to have that 7 that nothing's going to combine with. And then x to the 3rd and that x over there, we're going to add our exponents. So we'll have x to the 4th. And then y to the negative 1st, I guess I'll leave that here for now. It's not going to stay though. Our negative exponent needs to move to the denominator eventually. But then across the denominator, we've got x to the 2nd. Nothing combines with that. And then y times y to the negative 4th. We are still adding exponents, so we have y to the negative 3rd. And then we keep simplifying from here. So again, our 7's not going anywhere. Our x to the 4th over x to the 2nd, we are going to subtract. X to the 4 minus 2 is x to the 2nd. And then we can actually just subtract with these as well. We have to be really careful. So we have negative 1 minus negative 3. So we really end up adding, and we get y to the positive 2nd. So we actually didn't end up having to move that guy to the denominator after all. There we have it. Number 14, we need to multiply this out. Remember that if you've got a binomial cubed, you cannot just distribute like that. It does not work. What it's really asking you to do is take it and multiply it by itself 3 times. Just work with 2 of them at a time, and all we have to do is FOIL or double distribute. So those first two sets of parentheses, 3x times 3x, we have 9x squared, don't forget that, and then minus 12x minus another 12x, and then negative 4, that's a positive 16. Now before we multiply by that last set of parentheses, I'd simplify this guy first. Negative 12x, we have a 9x squared minus 24x plus 16 times 3x minus 4, and we are just going to go ahead and triple distribute. So we take our 9x squared times everything in our second term, 9x squared times 3x, 27x to the third, and 9x squared times negative 4 minus 36x squared, and then we move on. So our negative 24x times 3x, we have negative 72x squared, negative 24x times negative 4 plus 96x. And lastly, we're taking 16 times 3x, that is 48x, 16 times negative 4 minus 64. Lastly, we are just going to go ahead and combine our like terms. So we have 27x cubed, nothing combines with that, and then negative 36x squared minus 72, we are going to get 108, so minus 108x squared, 96x, 48x, 144, x minus that 64 that nothing combines with. There is our final answer.